It's strange really, but for many of us, praying can cause anxiety. Not because we feel we don't believe in prayer. I know from talking with many of you that you have experienced for yourselves the transforming power of prayer, but because we are afraid of doing it wrong or praying for the wrong things with the wrong words. So, what is prayer? How should we pray? And is there a right or wrong way to pray? Let's read what Jesus had to say on the subject of prayer, and then we can share some thoughts. We can read about this in Matthew chapter 6. Over the next few weeks, we'll look more carefully at what we call the Lord's Prayer and see what help and encouragement we can find there. But for today, we'll look at some general principles and think about how and when we pray. In this passage from Matthew, Jesus talks about how different groups went about prayer in the time in which he lived. Although individual prayer was appropriate at any time, devout Jews prayed publicly at set times. Commonly, they were morning, afternoon, and evening, so prayer took place on those 3 times. As a set time of prayer arrived, pious Jews would stop what they were doing and pray. This could be done discreetly and quietly, or it could be done with a large pompous display. Some people were sure to find themselves in a place where they would be noticed, such as the synagogue or on a street corner. In those cases, it seems their inner motivation for offering public prayer was public recognition and praise of their piety, which of course has no value with God. We don't pray to impress other people. In contrast to this public display, Jesus tells his followers when they pray to go to their inner room, somewhere private, away from the public. The focus here is on our closeness with God, which is at the centre of all prayer, whether that happens in a church service or a time of quiet private prayer. Jesus certainly doesn't ban or condemn all public prayer. In fact, the Gospels record Jesus as praying in public. But when praying publicly, we must carefully consider our motivation. Are we praying sincerely to God, or praying so that others are impressed with our pious words? Jesus now gives an example of how his disciples should pray. While it is commonly referred to as the Lord's Prayer, it might better be described as the disciples' prayer, because it's an example for us to follow. And there are a couple of points that we might want to reflect upon. First of all, Jesus' teaching here is not so much a command to pray, but an invitation to share in the prayer life of Jesus himself, to join with Jesus in prayer. Secondly, Jesus depicts prayer in the form of a child speaking with a loving parent, our Father, or if it helps to think of it this way, our loving parent. And then Jesus offers some guidance on what we can pray about, which is just about anything and everything. The range of the Lord's Prayer extends from big themes of God's kingdom and God's will to the everyday themes of bread, debts and temptations. So what this passage is asking is for us to feel confident to pray to God, to feel we can pray about anything and not to worry too much about the language that we use.